I love the Chronicles of Narnia. I quote from them often, and the individual images in C.S. Lewis's stories about these 4 children that come into a magical kingdom called Narnia. All the individual illustrations and thoughts and analogies are beautiful, but what's most ingenious and powerful about it is just the story itself, because it's a story of 4 children, ordinary children, that are sent out of London during wartime to avoid the bombings. And so they go to the countryside to stay with a friend or a relative, some unknown person. And these 4 children wind up in an old house with an old professor with white hair, and there's something mysterious about it all. So this is the story. Children who can't be useful in the war are sent away. They're not warriors. And the children were sent out because they are innocent and they wanted to be protected, but it was made plain that you can't contribute anything. And that's the genius of this, is that the children in the Chronicles of Narnia, they go into a different realm. They walk through an old wardrobe in this closet, and then through coats, and then next thing you know, they're in the middle of Narnia. And after a series of events, all 4 of the children find themselves in Narnia. And what you begin to realize early on is that these kids are going to be something different in Narnia than they were back home. There's going to be something that's going to be majestic about them. And so you start getting these intriguing conversations that take place. And the other creatures in the forest of Narnia begin to recognize that these human beings are there. And it's like, are you human? Sons of Adam, daughters of Eve, you're human. And they're like, well, yeah, we're human, so what? What's the big deal about being human? And they start realizing that being human is glorious. And they say, well, isn't the white witch, isn't she human? Well, she's sort of human, kind of mixed. And the beaver clarifies all this by saying, and here's it directly. Beaver says, take my advice. When you meet anything that is going to be human and isn't yet, or used to be human once and isn't now, or ought to be human and isn't, you keep your eyes on it and feel for your hatchet. In other words, if they'd be really, truly human, then you're in good shape. And the beaver goes on to tell about a prophecy that's going to take place where there are going to be these 4 humans, 2 sons of Adam, 2 daughters of Eve. They're going to come, and they're going to be the ones that restore righteous reign. These kids in Narnia, they're at the same time kids, but they are princes and princesses. They are in the lead because they're human. This is what David says. You've given him dominion over the works of your hands and put all things under his feet, all sheep and ox and the beasts of the field. He just thinks on all of this, and he says again, Lord, oh Lord, how majestic is your name in all the earth. You see, it moves from the idea of I'm only human to I'm gloriously human. We identify with this sense of our frailty. A pop song by Christina Perri is called Human. But I'm only human. I bleed when I fall down. I'm only human, and I crash and I break down. Your words in my head, knives in my heart. You build me up, then I fall apart because I'm only human. It's been a huge pop song because we identify with that. I'm only human. But what David is saying is not I'm only human, but I am human. And here's what happens, beloved, is that there is something that takes place when Christ comes that is it is so restorative that nobody could have ever envisioned this. God came as a human being. And he came as a human being not only to show us what humanity was always supposed to be, but he came to actually make it possible for our true humanity to be restored. So in Hebrews chapter 2, we won't take time to turn there, but in Hebrews chapter 2, the author of Hebrews looks back at Psalm 8, and he says, for it was not to angels that God subjected the world to come, of which we're speaking. It has been testified somewhere. What is man that you're mindful of him? Or the son of man that you care for him? You made him a little lower, while lower than the angels. You have crowned him with glory and honor, putting everything in a subjection under his feet. Now in putting everything in a subjection in him, he left nothing outside his control. He's speaking of Jesus. He's speaking of what Jesus has done, and that Jesus has been crowned with glory and honor, it says, because of the suffering of death, so that by the grace of God he might taste death for everyone. For it was fitting that he, for whom and by whom all things exist, in bringing many sons to glory, that's us, should make the founder of their salvation perfect through suffering. For he who sanctifies and those who are sanctified all have one source, and that is why he's not ashamed to call them brothers. I wish I had more time to talk about that. What he's saying is the Holy One, Jesus, has come, and when you accept Christ's sacrifice for you, you are also made holy. What he's saying is absolutely mind-bending, but he's saying that when you accept Christ, before you were outside of Christ, but when you accept Christ, you're in Christ, and you are his brother. And what this means is that when you accept Christ, it's not just a ticket to heaven. It is the opportunity to be truly human. It is a time to accept the glory and honor that you've been crowned with. It's not pride. It's not self-absorption. It's reality. It's what's actually happened for us. And something changes inside your life when you begin to accept Christ as your brother. You accept him as your Lord, and you're astonished, but you also accept him as your brother, and you realize that you are human, and to be human is not an insult. It is the glorious pinnacle of all creation. We have made in the image of God. It's just so wonderful. Oh Lord, how majestic is your name in all the earth, because I'm astonished at who you are and what you've done, and I never would have deserved it, and I can hardly imagine it, but you've crowned me with honor and glory and made me brother to Jesus Christ. That is the gospel.